It's time now for County-Wide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Join Paul David and Brad Miller as they talk with our community's leaders, newsmakers, and people in the know. You'll hear about the hot topics that affect all our lives here in Yavapai County. And now, here's today's County-Wide.
Welcome to County-Wide. I'm Paul David. Very good to have you in studio with us today. Bill Cowan joined us, local historian. Welcome, Bill.
Thank you.
Good to have you here. I know you've been in studio before. Bill wrote a book, Verde Valley. As simple as that. But man, you know, every time one of these books comes out, I take a flip through it, and it's just such a great trip back in history of our local area. And you've captured it with this book.
Yes, I have tried to, well, historically, when I was a kid, the Verde Valley didn't have much of a population. And people thought of themselves as being from the Verde. The towns were so small and people lived in dispersed areas throughout. And who knew where Cottonwood was? Who knew where even Oak Creek, you know, in the beginning,
right.
It wasn't even, you weren't bragging about being from Sedona, you were bragging about being from Oak Creek. And wow. It didn't take very long over the generations that everybody was also intermarried, and also with the prominence of the mining industry, cattle from the Apache-made ranch or Rimrock, apples from up in Oak Creek, peaches and stuff were all brought to Clarkdale and Jerome. People got married, worked in the mines. Everybody had some, you know, there was this great cross-cultural aspect of being in the Verde, and people knew that they were from the Verde as a community. It's not so much anymore.
So back then, people didn't say, I'm from Cottonwood, I'm from Camp Verde, I'm from Clarkdale, I'm from Jerome. It was just all one big chunk.
Well, I lived up in Mormon Lake, and when people, Mormon Lake back then was the site of the largest jackpot roping in the state, and so cowboys on Memorial Day and Labor Day would come up to Mormon Lake, and if they asked where you were from, and they were from the Verde, they would generally say, I'm from the Verde Valley. Thought of the Verde Valley as a greater community back then. And so with putting this book together, I have tried to feature the histories of the individual communities, but also to encourage this idea of the Verde Valley as a single community.
Mormon Lake still has a lot of equestrian events up there, and I did not realize that that was a place historically that these events took place at.
Well,
that's interesting.
You know,
I didn't know
the
that.
original primary industry in the Verde Valley was ranching. And every rancher, there was a Missouri tradition of moving your cattle. And most of the early settlers that came in 1875 and populated Cottonwood up the upper Verde, they moved their cattle to what they called the Mogollon Mountains. And so they would be down here in the Verde in the wintertime, and in the spring as a group, because there were no fences. They would, as a community, they would round up all the cattle from throughout the Verde Valley and take them up towards Mormon Lake.
Wow, what a ride.
Also around Clint's Wells. And they would then get together. They would socialize and get together on holidays up at Mormon Lake Lodge. There was a huge roping and rodeo and family gathering at Mormon Lake Lodge, and also at Clint's Well. There was a big rodeo at Clint's Well. So our people would get together, mix with people from Payson and Winslow and stuff like that, at those two communities, Clint's Well and Mormon Lake.
Wow, you know, you don't really realize that these places have such historical significance until you sit down and talk to somebody who knows a little bit about the background and the history of these areas. Because Clint's Well and Mormon Lake, they never meant too much to me. but there's a lot to them to think about. And the Verdi. The Verdi. We were just sitting here before the show, and I was looking at this picture on the front page, the book cover, and it's this gal in a white gown on a car, what is supposed to be a car. And we sat here and talked 6 minutes about just this one picture on here.
Yes, interestingly, this is the first automobile in the Verde Valley. It was co-owned.
It's amazing.
I mean, I believe that it came as a kit. And these men up in Jerome, prominent members of the Jerome community, assembled it and drove it around. It was actually owned by Lee Andrew Jackson. Get the idea, his family was from the South. Lee Andrew Jackson Hawkins, one of the very earliest settlers in the vicinity of Cottonwood here. As he grew older, he became a dentist up in Jerome. And he went in partnership with T.F. Miller, who was William Andrews Clark, the owner of the United Verde Mine. He was his grandson. So here were these two wealthy young men who had the first car, and they drove it extensively. It was truly an adventure. Hawkins also had one of the first motorcycles.
Oh, really?
And in fact, his son was killed in 1913 riding an Indian motorcycle over in Hawaii.
Oh.
There was some kind of early motorcycle race over there. So he was quite a gyro gear loose. And the interesting thing, I selected this photograph because it was the first car, but also because of the driver. This is also the first lady driver, and I thought it was, in this day of liberated women, it was a cool thing that here was a woman driving, didn't even have a steering wheel, it had a sort of a tiller on there, and yet she was capable, dressed quite nicely, and she was actually Hawkins' dental assistant.
Yeah, her jacket's hanging over the back of the seat, or maybe it's his jacket hanging over the back of the seat. But you look at the car, and you had mentioned that you were actually trying to find out if anyone knows who manufactured this vehicle.
Yes, and I have had the Veteran Motor Car Club. I've had a lot of local collectors look at it, and that's how we happen to know that it was a kit. They know their cars, and they haven't been able to figure it out. Interestingly, Don Robertson up at the Gold King is researching it. We're going to be talking a little bit about the bank robbery. He is playing the part of Willard Forrester in this coming bank robbery. But he is, the Gold King mine is this interesting collection of machinery and stuff, and if anybody will ever figure it out, it may be him.
What I'm finding is you can really get in depth on all of this, very in depth, on just like I said, this individual picture. We have to take a break. We are going to come back. We're going to talk. We got a recreation of a bank robbery that occurred in Clarkdale, 1928?
1928.
Bill Collins in studio today. I'm Paul David. This is Countywide. We will be back in just a couple minutes.
So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
We couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
I'm one unlucky guy. The chance of being involved in a robbery is 1 in 757. The chances of being struck by lightning. 1 in 750,000.
Please fasten your seatbelts for unexpected turbulence.
The chances of being a victim in an airline crash? 1 in 29 million. Hey, could I get some peanuts? The chances of being involved in a car crash are far greater than lightning strikes and plane crashes. And if you are texting while driving, your risk of crash increases 23 times. Now, I may be an unlucky guy, But I don't have to be part of that statistic, and neither do you. Drive responsibly.
There's no place like home.
Getting home safely is just a click away. But making sure your child is in the right seat is just one of the steps down the road to safer travels.
I don't know how it works.
Find the right seat for your little one's age and size.
We know what you told us.
There's no better way to get home safely. Know for sure that your child is in the right seat. Get all the facts at safercar.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Countywide. I'm Paul David. Bill Cowan in studio today. We're talking about his book, Verde Valley, as well as we probably should shift gears right now for this next segment. Talk about, we have a reenactment coming up of a very infamous bank robbery. So give me the details on this, and I'll pick your brain after you're done.
Well, a couple of 3 years ago, about the time I was working on this book, I had known about Clarkdale ever since I was a kid. We came through Clarkdale when it was before Interstate 17. The main road went through Clarkdale. So, and in the 60s, I knew a lot about Mingus High School when it was still up in Jerome. And,
That's funny.
So Clarkdale was very important to me. And I was approached by a gal up in Clarkdale who said, well, what do you think is the most famous thing that ever happened in Clarkdale? And do you have any ideas for developing cultural heritage tourism? And I said, well, one of the most famous things that ever happened in Clarkdale and one of the most colorful events in Arizona history was the robbery of the Clarkdale branch of the Bank of Arizona. The first bank robbery in Yavapai County and the biggest bank robbery in state history until that time.
Oh, wow.
And it winds up with this fantastic shootout by a 70-year-old Arizonan who had been in the Pleasant Valley War. Zane Grey had written about him. Here was this old guy sort of finishing out his life, working for the United Verde as a night watchman, or just as a sort of the town constable. And here this thing erupts, this giant gunfight, and he just sort of steps off the street a la Dirty Harry and starts blasting away with his pearl-handled .45 and kills the driver and apprehends the other bank robber. So we're putting together this reenactment. The last 2 years, it's been handled by Blue Rose Theater from Charlotte Hall. But we kept thinking, actually, Don Robertson from the Gold King Mine has provided the automobiles for the last couple of years. And I happened to be sitting across the street last year and watching Don Robertson as they drove his car down to the bank. Well, this kid had never driven a stick shift in his life, and here's a 1928 Dodge sedan, and he revved it up. He didn't understand what it was, and so I just thought, why don't we invite Don Robertson maybe to play the part of Willard Forrester, the main bank robbery, and to which he gleefully admitted he'd be happy to do that.
Let him drive his baby, huh?
Yeah, let him drive his own baby, shoot his own gun, for that matter.
Right.
And we've got Randy Taylor, the chief of police in Clarkdale, playing the part of Jim Roberts. I've got Clarkdale City Councilman Bill Regner playing the part of David Saunders, the bank manager. Those are the main three players. Also, a fellow by the name of Randy Loftus from Camp Verde is playing the part of Earl Nelson.
Who's Earl Nelson now? Which one was that?
Earl Nelson.
We skipped a couple characters now.
Earl Nelson is the second bank robbery. They were actually brothers, and They pull up in front of the bank. They had been robbing banks for a while.
There's 3 in this car?
There are 2 in the car.
2 in the car. Okay.
Willard Forrester and Earl Nelson.
Okay.
They have been robbing banks for a while. They had $40,000 buried up by Stoneman Lake.
In Arizona, they've been robbing banks.
Okay. Oh, yeah. As well as in Nebraska and back in Oklahoma. They were, they were from Oklahoma, but they had robbed banks before, and here they came into Clarkdale thinking this is going to be easy picking.
Piece of cake, right? Little Clarkdale, there's nobody here.
And they go into the bank and leave there with $50,000.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it was
that's not chump change.
It was back in those days. They, you got a pay envelope on Friday, and so here was the cash payroll for the complete Clarkdale smelter, as well as all of the the employees of the United Verde, and they went in there and managed to get away with everything that was in the bank. They basically cleaned out the bank.
Wow. Silver,
gold coins, but they made one mistake. They went to lock everybody in the vault, and David Saunders convinces them that many people locked in the vault, they would suffocate before they get it open.
And Saunders is the branch manager.
Yes.
He's the branch manager.
Yes.
Okay.
And anyway, Saunders talks them out of locking it, and he slams the door, making them think that that they're pinned in there. And he promises over and over again that that they won't come out. Well, as soon as the robbers hit the door, he managed to jimmy open the day grill, which they had locked, and get his gun and go to the door, and he shoots 5 times at the fleeing car, and then a la Dirty Harry. I mean, if you remember when Dirty Harry just comes out, Jim Roberts didn't even have a holster.
Oh,
he
really?
pulls his gun out of his pants pocket and starts blasting away at the pair of them.
Now, where was the Bank of America in Clarkdale at the time this happened?
Right on Main Street. It's actually where the 4-8 Wine Works is, right immediately down from the newsstand.
Just kind of catty corner from the gas station there.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
So
which way they take off as they were fleeing? Which way they go?
Well, back in those days, you had to turn right. You could go down into Lower Clarkdale, but that was sort of a dead end. And the road turned right there by the high school, and went down into that valley and came down that valley into Cottonwood. And they had anticipated, they had this, they had a keg of nails. They had a whole collection of chili pepper and mint in case the bloodhounds got after them. They had this whole collection of stuff in the car that they were gonna, and they were ultimately gonna go over to Rimrock and up the Blue Grade towards Stoneman Lake. That used to be one of 2 ways out of the Verde. You could go up. You could go up Schnebley Hill.
Schnebley Hill Road, okay.
I mean, the switchbacks were brand new in 1928, but prior to that, everybody went up Schnebley Hill or up the Blue Grade, which is before Interstate 17, when you went past Montezuma Well, and that was called the Blue Grade.
Oh, so what 17 is now was Blue Grade?
No, Blue Grade is actually one canyon over from where Interstate 17 goes up Hog Canyon. Okay. The Blue Grade went up Rarick Canyon there.
Okay. Wow. So you're going to do this recreation. When is this going to take place?
It's taking place in conjunction with the Clarkdale home tour on December 14th. Okay. The reenactment goes on 3 times at 11, 1, and 3 p.m. It's free, but it is also in conjunction with the home tour, and there are shuttles running around. They charge for the home tour $15 ahead of time, $20 on the day of. But in any case, if you're up there at 11, 1, or 3, you'll see it on the street.
Be prepared for a bank robbery.
You bet.
We got to take another break. Bill Cowan's in the studio today talking about a recreation of a bank robbery from 1928 in Clarkdale. I'm Paul David. This is Countywide. We'll be back in just a couple minutes.
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today.
They say that when you're facing extreme danger, your life flashes before you. If you think that's sad, consider facing it before you even have enough life to flash before your eyes. Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Deaths and injuries can be prevented by using the right car seat. Visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat to know what is appropriate for each age and size.
When you're out there, there's no telling what you'll find.
I see it, I see it! Oh, look at you.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org.
Welcome back to Countywide, our final segment of the program. Bill Cowan, local historian, in studio today. Real quick, we want to remind you, December 14th is the reenactment of the 1928. Is there a special name for the bank robbery?
No, it's called the 1928 Clarkdale branch of the Bank of Arizona robbery.
Okay, so there's going to be a reenactment on December 14th at 11 a.m., 1 p.m., and 3 p.m.
Correct.
Free. If you're in Clarkdale,
yes.
Be ready for
Come up to Clarkdale on your way to Jerome. Or if you're coming from Cottonwood, come up the historic 89A into Clarkdale. And get there a little bit early. They actually close off Main Street, Clarkdale.
Oh, for this event.
For this event.
Okay.
But if you want to go on the home tour starts at 9, finishes at 5, though the last shuttle leaves at 3 p.m. So if you're wanting to see, there are 4 historic homes. This is the first year that you can actually make it into the powerhouse at the Clarkdale Smelter. It's the first year that they have had it open. Been doing a huge amount of work on that. And also one of Clarkdale's most historic churches is on that. So you get to go through 6 historic haunts in Clarkdale. $15, $20 a day of the event. Tickets are available at Checkered Past and also the Clarkdale Heritage Museum up in Clarkdale.
Okay.
So you can...
All that. Wow, lots of stuff. And then your wonderful book. We have to have you come back and talk about the book.
I'd love to.
Can we do that real soon?
You bet.
All right, I've loved having you in studio. It's been really interesting, as always, and we'll talk about local history. It's very good. Bill Cowan, very good to meet you, have you in studio today.
Thank you, Paul.
I'm Paul David. That's today's Countywide. We'll talk to you again next time.
This has been Countywide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Listen in each Tuesday and Thursday as we tackle the hot topics and talk to the decision makers across Yavapai County. That's Countywide with Brad Miller and Paul David each Tuesday and Thursday on this Yavapai Broadcasting station.